tell you what, that was the longest it's ever taken to set up a stream. Right, everybody, welcome to West Ham, my YouTube channel. You already know who I am. I'm here on my own, but if you lot want to come in, phone in, have your opinion on that terrible, terrible game of football, you are more than welcome to. I'll put the link in the chat now. So more than happy for you just to hit on it. It'll load up and you'll come through and we can discuss the game. But I'm kind of glad I've actually cooled off a little bit, because when you go into a Premier League season, you go in with a little bit of hope. You go in with a little bit of optimism. Obviously, our transfer window had been terrible. We'd lost Grady Diangana, but I did think we had enough attacking players to trouble the likes of Newcastle. Clearly, that's not the case. We lacked creativity across the pitch. We looked scared to push Newcastle in areas. Newcastle, albeit do have the likes of St. Maximin, have brought in Callum Wilson, aren't the most dangerous team on the attack. They set up with a 4-4-2 as well. Andy Carroll's not the most mobile. He's not going to get in behind. And to be fair, the likes of Fredericks had a okay game. He wasn't tested as much, but we just didn't force the issue. We didn't look to build the play. There was a lack of tempo. We were sitting way too deep against a team that wasn't realistically going to hurt us, particularly the likes of Callum Wilson. You know, yes, he's mobile. Yes, he can get in behind. But let's be clear here that they weren't playing free-flowing football. The first 10 minutes we come out and Newcastle were pretty much dominant. I thought it was going to go the way of taking on the fullbacks, and throughout the game they got a lot of crosses into the box. And you know, I don't think it's one of them games where our fullbacks were at fault. But if you actually look at both the goals, they come down Creswell's left-hand side. I do think Creswell was massively suspect for that Hendrick goal, albeit it was a great finish. But West Ham had plenty of chances throughout the game to build a bit of momentum, build a bit of tempo, change the fluency of the play. We were just really poor all over the pitch. We just looked completely and utterly devoid of ideas. I think, particularly in the first half, I thought it was just the first 10 minutes, West Ham typically never really get out of the blocks. And then we started to get a few crosses in the box. Souček hit the bar, Ogbonna hit the bar. And I thought this is a clear method of how West Ham are going to win this game, by getting men forward. And I thought we turned the corner with regard to trying to attack teams and attacking with numbers. But clearly Moyes has now reverted to having Antonio as a lone striker. The decision to play Pablo Fornals on the left wing is puzzling. I thought we had 8 wingers. So while we've got a player at number 10 there, I've got absolutely no idea. I thought his work rate was okay. I thought he could have done better for Newcastle's cross for the Wilson goal. But listen, it's square pegs and round holes. Let's be clear here. There's no we didn't look like we wanted to attack. And interesting enough, in the first half, you see, I think Moyes wanted Fredericks and Creswell to push on a little bit further, because Declan was sitting with Diop and Ogbonna. So they know that that's a weakness, and they know that we need to get at teams and we need to push forward. And to be fair to West Ham, we were near on most of the time on that halfway line, but the passing forward, it was just non-existent. We didn't look to create anything. We didn't build any tempo. We rarely got a cross in the box. Probably one of the most easiest games Newcastle will have this season, just purely because of the lack of creativity. And I was massive. I am hugely disappointed with that result. I thought it would have been a perfect game for Grady Diangana, particularly down that left-hand side, to take them on a little bit. I think Newcastle, albeit are a conservative team, will sit deep. They brought in who they bring in next to Shelvey? Isaac Hayden, a player that's going to mop up, a player that puts himself around. So they were waiting for that. That was their game plan, to sit deep and hit us on the counter. And the chances they got to go forward, they scored on each of them. So I thought I honestly don't even believe this is a real positive at all, but I thought Alan St. Maximin was going to have a bit more of an effective game. I thought he was going to get in behind a lot more. I think Fredericks' pace maybe dealt with that quite well. But having said that, I think in the first half, Souček and Rice sat so deep that it's very, very difficult for St. Maximin to find any spaces. And by the time he went off, they'd already scored a goal. We were lacking any creativity. We really just didn't push on from there. I thought 10, 15 minutes into the second half, we were really just completely tepid. You'd think that we come out, I think they tried to push Souček slightly further forward and Declan a little bit further forward to press the issue, but the movement in front of them was completely lacking. Listen, if you don't have a natural winger on that left-hand side and you leave Fornals there, you're not going to have that There was a level of interchangeability between the two. I think Antonio tried, but I just believe Newcastle could have been got at. I think if we put numbers in there, I think the decision to bring on Allaire was the correct one, but Allaire was missing. I mean, he didn't have any service at all either. Couldn't affect the game, couldn't do anything. Obviously, he had that shot that, for me, I don't know about you lot, but hit Hendrick on the arm. So I think that was a little bit harsh on us as well. I don't know if the rules changed, but last time I checked, when Declan got done in, that's because any part of the arm it hits, that's a penalty. So that was massively disappointing as well. Yeah, and again, I just think it was a sucker punch, wasn't it? I think inevitably Moyes come to maybe sit out for a draw. I'm not really sure what the game plan was to not attack Newcastle in a game that, in my opinion, we have to win because of the difficulty of the fixtures coming up. It's incredibly frustrating for us to not really take the gauntlet and run with it and try and test these teams. Listen, against Arsenal played really well today. I could see us staying even deeper. I could see us sitting with Souček and Rice very, very deep. We won't push forward because Arsenal can pick us off because they've got the ability to do so. I think we're going to see exactly the same next week. He hasn't got, for some reason, it doesn't seem like Moyes has got a plan B. He doesn't know what happens if we can't counteract teams and counter-attack them. And I actually think the biggest issue was when Newcastle did push forward and we did have the space to try and move in, particularly in the first half. Noble was playing it sideways. He wasn't progressive enough. There's just certain things that start to get massively under my skin. And I don't know about you lot. This is just my opinion, but I thought Noble had a poor game today. I agree he's frustrated on that bench. I've seen the picture, and I'm not surprised, but how many times we do have to keep playing with Mark Noble in a number 10? It doesn't work. He can't affect the game. He doesn't have the ability to do so. I'm not disrespecting Mark Noble because he's a captain, he's a leader. What he did the other week with the tweet was top drawing as far as the overall picture of the club's concerned, but we can't afford it anymore. Can't afford to have him in there, and we need a number 10 that's going to force the issue. We need an Alan Saint-Maximin. We need a player like that who's going to really sort of test teams and make them think and use the mobility in Antonio and Jared Bowen. And it was just really disappointing. The only thing I can kind of think was a little bit of an uplift was when Yarmolenko come on. I thought we tried to force the issue a little bit. We know he's got a great finish on him, but again, he was frustrated. There's no movement, so therefore there's a lack of space. Yarmo hasn't got the pace as a winger, so he's never going to get in behind. So he needs space, people to make space for him in order to get a shot off. But we just didn't test them. Newcastle were perfectly happy defending. They've got the ability to hit some counter, and they did. And ultimately, that's why we lost, 2-0. But, as an overarching, theme of the game, we were just so deep, and it was just so poor. And listen, I think against Arsenal, we're going to have to really buck our ideas up and start. It's not the game ultimately to win in. It's not the game to force the issue. But it's massively disappointing. I am going to bring you in, Vin, in a minute, mate. Just trying to man the fort a little bit here. Right, let's bring Vin in to discuss the game. Vin, how you doing, mate? I don't think he's here. Hello, mate. No, I'll remove you, mate. You're going to have to come back in. But let's bring Max in, my mate. See how he's doing.
Hello, mate.
Buzz, what was that?
Oh, mate, don't. What a joke, eh?
Oh, honestly, literally, I've just been sitting here ranting for the past 5 minutes. Just, listen, you start a Premier League season and you look to kind of take the initiative and in a game that ultimately we should be forcing the issue for, and we just didn't do that for 90 minutes. Can't hear, mate. But I take it you was agreeing with me.
Hello, Corey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Sorry, mate, I had a bit of a lag there. Yeah, mate, honestly, when we went 1-0 down, I was just like, I honestly don't, another season of this, like, but I don't know, there's a few positives to take away from it, I reckon. Try and be optimistic. When Noble came off, we actually started to. Well, Noble and Fornals came off, didn't they? Fornals.
Yeah.
And I thought we had a better play. We played better after they went. We looked like we were more attacking. There was more urgency about us. So like when my problem was, and I hate to say it, and I know I'm going to get slated for this. Noble slows us down so much, and I know you love him. We all do love him, but he does just slow us down a bit now.
Mate, I literally just said before you come on that I thought Noble had a really poor game, and like the amount of misplaced passes he makes. Like,
he honestly he literally saw one and knew it wasn't gonna like get to who he was trying to pass to, and still did it.
Yeah, that's the problem, mate. It's like with Nobes, obviously we all love him and stuff like that, but he's becoming a bit of a passenger in this team, and I'd rather someone that could offer something else. Because he's playing number 10, and ultimately I'd rather play Fornals as number 10, and try and maybe push Antonio wide and Alera up front on his own. But we can't have him in the team every week, in my opinion, because he's just struggling.
Well, it's a wasted place, mate. I was talking to my dad about it. We would just watch the game, and I said I don't understand why he's even there, and why in the lineup he was like as a cam.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Why would you
that about?
Yeah, I don't get it. I think
Souček there?
Yeah, well, things with Souček though, he runs forward, he makes those runs, but he's not playing naturally as a 10. But he gives Noble that 10 because he knows he hasn't got the legs to play defensively, so he just gives him a free role.
But yeah, I honestly don't know. But then, I was saying like, who would we replace him with? I say, would we put Lanzini on? But then I don't know.
Yeah, what do you think about the subs as well? Do you think he left it? I know he brought him in on 65, 70 minutes, but do you think he should have brought him on sooner? Because it just looked like we still weren't forcing the issue.
Yeah, I think Yarmolenko is absolutely class. Like, I don't know why we don't give him more game time. Like, I really don't understand that. Haller needs. I honestly don't know, mate. I think he needs more. He needs more game time to get used to the play more. And Anderson, I think Anderson wanted to come on. I mean, he couldn't do anything. He came on with what, like 10 minutes? Was it 15 minutes?
Yeah, like literally. I think he came on the end. I can't remember, mate. I think I've just switched off and switched into this. I just couldn't be bothered after that second one.
That's it. Literally after the second goal, I said I literally knew. I had a feeling we were going to lose 2-0. I put so many like optimistic bets on, so I've lost like 30 quid. We've lost 2-0 first game of the season. I just can't be arsed. Like literally, after the first half, when you just get that gut feeling, you just think, yeah, we're not going to win this.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the thing. Like, I was massively disappointed, mate. Like, we need to go at a game like Newcastle and offer something and show a bit of, I don't know, like a bit of pace on the counter or trying to get in behind, or even if it's a few crosses. And we just didn't look like we were going to push past that, the centre of the park or create anything. And that's what would concern me going against Arsenal, because it's going to be difficult, mate, against them.
Mate. Arsenal are going to absolutely batter us, and like we just need to accept that we are just going to lose until November, I reckon.
I think, mate, I watched Arsenal today.
But with everything, the thing is with West Ham, there's always something going on outside the football. Like we've always had it, and like I don't know if you saw when they put that shot of Gold, Sullivan, and Brady just sitting down there.
Yeah,
mate. I just look at them and I think, what are you doing? You've literally destroyed this club.
Oh, mate, that's the thing as well. Like, I think I wanted to ask you this: do you think it's actually affected the players now? Because it doesn't look like
big time. Did you see Noble on the bench after he got taken off? Mate, he literally it was like someone had stabbed his dog or something. Like he was fuming. Like he was honestly. But then having said that, I know when me and you were messaging saying, "Oh, Noble's a legend," for tweeting that. Looking back on it now, probably not the brightest move. I mean, I know he's obviously a player for the fans, this, that, and the other. But as captain of the club and Mr. West Ham, was it the best move?
Well, yeah.
In the sense that it's got the whole squad, like.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? If he's getting the whole squad against the board, that's just going to cause so much conflict. And I
Yeah.
100% get why he did it, and I'm sure other players were annoyed about it. But I saw this this like leaked text message that I think was like I don't think it was real. I don't think it was reliable at
No,
all.
I think I know what you're talking about as
Yeah.
well.
Did I forward it to you?
Oh, mate, I think it's all over social media. I think
Yeah.
I've seen it. It's a bit of a wind up, isn't it?
Yeah, I reckon it's a winder, but it actually has like context behind it. You think that it could be true?
That's the point, isn't it? It's like, listen, I think with the Noble thing, at the time when it happened, I thought it was a really good thing to happen just because of the nature of the club and like.
Yeah,
I think
I'm with you. I'm with you with that.
Yeah, on the outside, we're obviously all in agreement that these lot have got to go, and I think as well, it's an interesting one. But you are right. Maybe it has affected the way that the team have played since. Against Bournemouth, we were shocking, and I know it's only a pre-season, but we didn't look up for it. And I think there is that element, that's particularly today, where you just think there was no real like enthusiasm. I can't really put my finger on it, but when the team just didn't look like they were up for trying to win the game.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's Moyes or whether that's like how they feel, but we can't be carrying that into this season.
No, well, before the pre-match, what's it called, interview with Moyes, he just didn't seem like he cared. Like he just couldn't be asked because he's obviously just not allowed to do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
There's definitely stuff's been going on behind closed doors there. The players are definitely not happy. Yeah, I don't know. But the thing is, I can just see like so many players just leaving us now because they'll just get bored. It's like Antonio, I don't think he's going to stick around if we're like, he worked his socks off today. I think Souček played quite well.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I think Creswell's passed it. Every time I was watching him, I was just getting wound up because he was just giving it away or just passing back. He wasn't really providing much.
Yeah.
I thought Fredericks had a decent game.
Yeah, to be fair to him, like I think he was coming under a lot of criticism. I was one of them ones that said I don't want him starting because obviously Saint-Maximin was playing, but I actually thought he dealt with him quite well. To be fair,
yeah, well, Saint-Maximin didn't do that much, did he? He did a few nice like touches and flicks, but other than that, Callum Wilson was class. Yeah,
he's a threat, mate. That's the thing with Newcastle because I actually thought they were going to play with one up front and they would just play with Wilson. But now they've got these options where they've got Andy Carroll, they can bring Joe Linton on, they got Wilson. Like they've got so many different looks to them. Yeah. And I think having those up front together, running off one another, I just think it caused our defence a few problems. And Wilson's lethal, mate. Even that goal, to an extent, it's a poacher's goal. It was nothing special, but just the right positioning and the right timing.
Mate, I don't know as well about you, but I saw Andy Carroll in a Newcastle shirt and I just wanted to hit him. Like when he just came on. I don't know how he didn't get booked either with the amount of challenges he did.
Well, I thought he was actually going to go for maybe a yellow or a red on that first challenge with Souček because they were VAR. So I was like, well,
elbowed him in the face first 30 seconds.
Yeah, mate.
But he's always done that. I remember when we used to watch him at London Stadium. I remember saying to myself, right, he's going to elbow this bloke in the face. And literally, as soon as he comes on, he just elbows someone. He always does it. He just gets away with it. I don't know how.
But it's the thing as well, like when he does it as well, he goes, I didn't
looks away. Yeah.
I'm like, mate, you do it every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's God, mate, I'm really dreading these next couple of games, if I'm perfectly honest. Like,
mate, it got 2-0. And that was a class goal, to be fair. That Hendrick's sick, isn't he?
That was a good one.
He did a few amazing balls. But yeah, got to that second goal and I was like, no, I just felt so depressed and just had no energy or any passion for West Ham. I just felt so I sound like such a wuss, but I had no passion for them. I just can't be arsed with this anymore. And it's sad, but they do just need to get the board out. So they are just ruining us.
Yeah, they suck the life out of it, mate. I think as well, even coming into this season, normally I'm not optimistic, but kind of we're West Ham, maybe we'll pull something off. But this time I was like, listen, I don't know if we can because
that's literally the same as me.
Yeah, the club at the moment's toxic, and in one way you see Moyes come out recently, and he actually backed Noble for his tweet and said obviously he's got the right to say what he wants to say, and I think he wasn't happy with the Grady Diangana situation. So there could be a massive divide in the club at the moment between the board and the actual team, and that's not helpful at all.
Imagine if we had Diangana on though today. No,
exactly. Yeah.
Imagine that, mate. It would have been a completely different dynamic.
Well, yeah, this is the thing though, mate, as well. Like, for me, that would have been a great game for Dean Garner because you could have got in behind because he stretched their defence. But you would be playing 4-nows in the 10, not Noble, and your team in general would be more balanced. And that's the problem. Like, that's what makes me laugh. They come out and said, "Oh, we sold Grady because we've got 8 wingers." I'm like, yeah, but you're playing a number 10 at left wing now. So what are you talking about? You're talking rubbish. So yeah, honestly, mate, it's a bit of a joke. If I'm honest, like, I'm just gutted with that performance.
Yeah, I don't know, mate. Hopefully October goes quickly. Is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, God, I'm dreading it. I just think Arsenal are going to have a right laugh next week. They really are.
Well, it's on Sunday, and is it 2 next week?
No, 8 o'clock, mate. Same time.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, 2 late ones. Back to back.
Oh God,
nasty, mate. God.
Well, if you're back in Bournemouth, we can watch it together and cry on each other.
I think I might actually be back in Bournemouth.
Mate, come round to watch it if you want.
I'll drop you a message. I'll have to do the show over there, and we'll have to set it up. But
yeah, let's do it. That'll be jokes.
It's mad depressing. It really is. But yeah, cheers for coming on, mate.
Thank you. No worries, mate. I think I'm gonna I feel like watching a sad movie. Eat some ice cream and just crying.
Oh, mate, typical West Ham.
It's just so bad, mate. It's the first game of the season. I already feel like I just want to give up. Like, I just can't be arsed with it.
Well, the thing is, it feels like a bit of a continuation from last season where we kind of scraped up. And obviously that is because no one's coming in. Like, it's the same squad. Like, there's no surprise. It feels the same atmosphere. And I just think
that's very true. That's very true. But that is the thing. There's literally been no one, has there? Well, literally, we signed Souček, like from the loan, and that was it. And then we got rid of like a player that we thought would be like one of our best players to a rival.
Yeah,
and then we let Eze go to Palace. Like, oh, he looks sick. To be fair, I saw him come on earlier. He looks mad.
He does, doesn't he? Yeah, I thought Eze was really impressive. Like his link up with Zaha and Ayew. Well, listen, mate, these were no brainers for us. Do you know what I mean? And I look at them and I think, if we go down this season, they can't complain. That board, they've thrown him under the bus. They haven't backed him. It's as simple as that. So. Yeah,
I feel so sorry for Moyes though, because he's literally in the middle, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been massively chucked under the bus, and you can tell with him everything we've heard and from podcasts and this, that, and the other. He wants a new left back. He potentially wanted a right back. He hasn't been given either. This Tarkowski thing. Will he actually sign him? Probably not. So
no, it won't happen.
It's just nuts, mate. And I think the Tarkowski thing's a little bit to do with the season tickets. They're trying to bring somebody in to kind of get people to renew because they just aren't doing it.
Did you see that they've they said like deadline yesterday, and now there's suddenly an extension till Wednesday. They're literally all about money, mate. They literally don't care about the club.
No, that's the thing as well. Like because they extended it once, didn't they? And then obviously now they've extended it again. And they were saying, the reason we're extending it is because we're getting too many phone calls. And I was like, no, you're not, mate. Like no one's renewing, especially now. I can't even go to the game. So
no,
I just hope they don't get their money. To be fair, I'm just like, don't give them your money.
Yeah, it's so horrible, mate. It'd be interesting though. I was talking to my dad. I said, imagine if someone like ridiculously rich just came in, bought the club, and was like, right, let's leave this stadium. This isn't a proper football stadium. Like, built us a proper football stadium. Imagine the scenes, mate. But like, that's just every West Ham fan's dream, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, well, I think that's the rumor, mate. Like, I think there's some American consortium that were like, if we come in, we'll basically try and rebuild the stadium or make the changes to it, because I think that's a massive thing as well. Like, I know people say don't bang on about the stadium, but when you've lost Upton Park and you've come here and now you're struggling to stay in the league, you're like, we haven't really got anything left. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of interesting.
Mate, there were very, very few games I came away from Upton Park feeling like this disheartened with it all. Like, don't get me wrong, I've been proper annoyed with like results and stuff, but like, at least then there was like I just feel like there's no passion in the club because all the players are just being basically just treated like crap, and there's no respect for them. I think that's probably why Noble got the hump so much, is because they're just mistreating everyone.
Yeah, I think he knows, mate. I think he knows what they've done, and like I just think that I think the last straw for me, I mean, it's not a last straw, but I think if Declan goes before the end of the window, listen, we're struggling because that geezer today was trying to force the play. He made a few mistakes, but he was trying. And I just think if he's going to come in and do the same, there isn't a player to do it.
What do you reckon he'll go?
Well,
I reckon he'll go next season personally, or January.
I don't know, mate. The longer it goes, and the longer I hear about the Chelsea rumours, like they are going to put a bid in probably in the next 2 weeks. If they do, if you're Declan and they put in enough money, you know, does he say, like, I just want to go now? I mean, he's not going to put a transfer request in, but I could see.
Didn't he say he wanted like 60 mil plus?
Yeah, well, mate, for me, he's worth at least 80. Like in the current market, if we're talking Harry Maguire's 80, then Declan is easily 80. So, but I can see the board going at maybe 55, 60. I think they'll go at that, which is silly, really. But
mate, they take that straight away as quick as they could. They would not even bat an eyelid.
The thing is, if they take it and they've got the Declan Rice money and they've got the Grady Dean Garner money, and they don't bring in anybody or they don't bring anyone in that's half decent, then what do you do as a fan? Because you look at it and you think, oh, we're probably going to go down here. But that's what I think. I just think if you take rid of Declan, we are in that bottom three. We're going to struggle.
Mate, like, I know it sounds so pessimistic today. It's only because I'm really annoyed about what I've just watched. Yeah. I honestly think we're getting relegated this year, and I'm just trying to get my head around it that we have got such a good squad. Like
on paper, yeah.
On paper, like I always say, on paper, our squad is unreal. Like you think about Yarmolenko, Declan Rice, Souček, like Felipe Anderson, Haller, like they got these mad names we're working at. Issa Diop, like there was talks that Issa Diop was going to go to United for 40 mil, 45 mil. And there's just so many. Fabianski, like they're all class players, mate. But like, Fredericks and Creswell, that's where we need to. That's where I reckon we need to get. Sadly, I reckon it's Noble's time up, and Fredericks and Creswell. But none of this is going to work with the board that we got at the moment. But
so would you bring in a midfielder before the end of the window to maybe replace Noble in the starting lineup?
I would, but I don't know who I'd replace him with.
Oh God, mate, that's a magic question, isn't it? I don't know who we're going to try and bring in.
Yeah. What's his face? Is it Thiago from Bayern? He is class, mate. I know we obviously wouldn't have the money for him, but like a playmaker like him, who just has it all.
Yeah, you're right. I think Thiago is a special player, but I'd like to see if we brought someone in that could play a 10, add a bit of pace, a bit like Saint-Maximin, a bit of unpredictability, can play off the wing, can play a number 10. We're going to need a player like that, mate, to kind of get things going. And I think we don't have that player to link the play at all. No. And so it's just literally, you've either got it up front with Antonio making something or Souček, in the air, or you're just trying to throw long balls forward and not build from the back.
Yeah. Well, did you hear that? I don't know if it was a load of rubbish, but did you hear that rumour that Chelsea were going to bid for Declan? We're going to have Declan Rice. They were going to give us 10 mil for Declan Rice and Kante.
No, that never happened, mate.
Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
I know it would never happen, but I heard it, and I was wetting myself. I was like, as if. I was like, just shut up.
The rumor,
but like, imagine that. Like,
mate, that'd be. Would you take Kante if you could bring him in?
Yeah. Well, if Rice was going, I'd reckon I'd take Kante, and then have Souček pushing a bit forwards, and then have like Yarmolenko on the left, Fornals in the middle, and then Bowen on the right with Antonio up front, and then Haller, or maybe Haller and Antonio up front. I don't know.
That's the thing. I think I heard the rumour saying that it was Chelsea were going to offer 40 million plus Ross Barkley because they believe Ross Barkley's £30 million. I was like, do me a favour. I wouldn't touch. I think Ross Barkley's a good player.
Yeah. How old is he now?
I don't know. I don't think he's as old as I think he is. He might be like 26, 27.
Yeah. Ross Barkley's one of those players you always think's older than he is.
Mate, he's been around for years because he come through when he was like 18.
Like 12.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's been around for ages, mate. But it's not good at the moment, mate. It really, really isn't. Fingers crossed. We we get something next week. I'll take a draw.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take a draw. I'll take not losing 5-0, to be fair.
Mate, the only good thing that's come from this season so far for me is our new third kit.
I don't really like it, but you really.
Yeah, mate, I think it's unreal. I had it on tonight. I was gassed.
What, until the result? And now you're just like.
No, we went 1-0 down and I was quite cold. So I was like, no, I'll take this off and just put a jumper. But yeah. Anyways, mate, I'll we'll hopefully see you in Bournemouth next week. We'll watch the game together.
Yeah, if not, mate, we'll try and do a watch along for one of these games coming up.
Yeah, that'd be class, mate. Just let me know.
Yeah, no worries, mate. All right, fella. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, bro.
Take care.
Have a good show.
Yeah, see you later, bud. Right, let's bring in Mark. Hello, mate.
Hi, Dave. Yeah, it wasn't the most best evenings, was it?
Oh God, I've kind of calmed down a little bit now. I've spoke to my mate, but at the same time, it was listen. The lack of creativity that was the worst thing for me. Was the fact that Newcastle were there to be got at, in my opinion. And I think even from set pieces and crosses, we seemed to cause them a few issues. But in the second half, when we should have been pushing and forcing the issue, we just didn't do that. We just sat back again, and we needed to win that game, in my opinion, or at least get a draw. To lose it is a massive kick in the teeth.
Absolutely, I agree with you there about the chances. I thought first half we didn't do too bad on the counter. Didn't create a great deal like outside of the counter. Obviously, Bonner hitting the bar, set piece. Fornals as well. I think Fornals pushed it down a little bit better with his chance, I felt. But second half, going forward, we were virtually non-existent. I think it maybe midway through the second half, I think it was, stat came on Sky's feed. I think they said that we'd had maybe 2 touches in the opposition box, I think it was at that point. Whereas, and you're thinking, well, exactly what you said, we're the home team. We're not playing, Man City, Liverpool, etc. We're playing Newcastle, who we're probably about, the same sort of level. And again, obviously just totally non-existent in the second half. And I'm scratching my head really to try and put my finger exactly on it as to why that was.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, mate, because I went into that game thinking St. Maximin was going to rip Fredericks apart. And actually, Fredericks didn't have too bad a game, which I was kind of surprised at. And because of that, it just felt like both teams were playing really conservative and no one wanted to get forward. But I felt that when Newcastle did get forward, they had numbers in the box like Wilson and Andy Carroll, obviously with their first goal. The second goal was a breakaway, and the counter-attack was on pace. And I thought a couple of times in that first half when West Ham could have got at Newcastle when they pushed forward, we just weren't quick enough. And we've got pace in the side with Jarrod Bowen and Antonio. So if you want to be playing that style of football, it needs to be, one touch forward. It can't just be sort of this languid play around the back and wait, and because you never create anything.
No, definitely not. I think that has been a problem of ours, not just with this squad, but I think for a number of years now, where we just don't have the pace or the power within the squad or within the starting 11 to really fully, said before, we hit them on the counter attack a few times, and obviously we did, but we don't do it consistently enough. We seem to get it sort of within about 25 yards or so of the goal, and then we like to stop it and come back and break it all down and try and then pass it across the pitch. And as you say, it's baffling really why we've had, every manager we've had in the last few years, and not one of them has really been able to fully change that. We seem to sign players that are all pretty much one pace. You think Snodgrass as being an example of one of them. 4 hours as well as another one, not blessed with great pace. And yet you see all these other teams. Newcastle obviously have got a few more players in comparison to us who are a little bit more mobile. And I think it massively lets us down. I agree with you there on Fredericks. I felt he wasn't brilliant, but it was certainly one of his better performances, should we say. Didn't really give St. Maximin that much chance in terms of really having an impact on the game. So credit to him there. But again, when he did get, on the rare occasions that he did get forward, certainly in that first half, His final ball was pretty poor, to be honest,
Yeah.
which is obviously we've touched on before. But it's easy to pick him out. I think you could easily pretty much go through every single player tonight and go, they weren't quite at the races, and I think that's the most disappointing thing. And especially as well, you look at the next six fixtures, I think, up until the beginning of November.
Yeah, mate.
And you do fear the worst because of where them teams are in terms of obviously where they finished last year and the depth and the quality they've got in their squad. And you just think, this is, we might pick up a result because we've proven it before that we can do it. But you're not confident. Whereas I totally get with what you're saying, that you were a little bit more confident about this game because it's Newcastle. We're at home. We should really be looking to get 3 points or at least picking up a point. Worst case scenario, but we've really put ourselves now under bigger pressure than what was already needed, really.
Yeah, it's an odd one, mate, because I think as we got near to the end of last season, where we started chalking up a few wins, Watford, Chelsea, etc., it seemed like Moyes got that, I wouldn't say a winning formula, but knew how to create chances, in the box, multiple numbers, like Fornals, Antonio, Souček, all pushing up. And tonight, he set up very much so defensively. Like, when you see the first half, you've got Souček and Rice sitting really deep. And I can only think that's because he doesn't trust West Ham to go and push up the field and get picked off on either wing. And I think, and you see it, and you see like Rice will just sit back with Diop and Ogbonna playing a 3 and Souček will try and push. Second half, he tried to change that where he pushed Rice and Souček a little bit further forward. But then there's no movement in front of them either. And a couple of times Declan was getting so frustrated because he's trying to play it forward and trying to get the tempo moving. And it's just static and it's slow. And I'm a bit shocked, really, because in pre-season, a couple of games, I thought, maybe we've sussed it a little bit with Allaire and, we're playing into feet a bit more, trying to work together. Grady could have been a massive part of that. But now it just seems completely devoid of ideas, don't understand how we're going to beat another team. And the fact that Moyes doesn't seem to have a plan B as well is really concerning. We don't change our style of play. We're very much the same throughout the 90.
Definitely. I think regarding the way we're set up tonight, I think it goes back to we're playing Newcastle, with all due respect to them. We're at home. We should look to try and get on the front foot a little bit more. And if that means, I don't know, either playing Allaire up top, which would have been my choice, and you maybe move Antonio out to, put him on even one of the wings, or you shift Fornals inside and play Anderson out on the left, or maybe Yarmolenko as another option, then that would have made perfect sense to me. Playing the 3 in midfield either suggests that we're only hoping to try and nick it and would be a tactic that would be better suited to one of the opponents we've got coming up in the next few weeks. Or he clearly, which I do understand this, is that he doesn't rate us defensively to be good enough to, which clearly didn't work tonight, but to try and stop the opposition from scoring. And I think, as we both know, we've got massive problems in our fullback areas. Classic example, I know it wasn't actually in the fullback position, but Creswell was standing off Hendricks at the end there, just giving him 3-4 yards, whatever it was in the box. You might get away with it out wide because there's always the chance that you can clear it, but we're in the penalty box. If you're not going to get touch tight to someone there, then you've got to ask serious questions for me. And I did notice a little bit in the first half that Rice almost seemed to be playing on the left a little bit more of the midfield 3, almost as if it was to try and protect Creswell, but almost try and allow Fornals to not be static on the left and have him almost trying to push inside. But I don't think that particularly worked because I felt that Fornals was a little bit lost at times, not quite sure. I don't think he knew where he meant to be. Obviously, he clearly, if Sullivan, or sorry, I should say Jim White, because he quoted it, thinks that Fornals is one of 7 wingers that we've got now, then there's clearly something massively wrong there with that.
Oh, mate, do you know what? That's the worst thing about it. When I saw it, I think I sort of tweeted it out. I said, like, It's a shame we've got Fornals on the left and we're supposed to have about 7 other wingers we can use.
Yeah.
It's like, honestly, it begs belief. And you see as well with the fullbacks, I was trying to suss out what he's trying to do with them because he clearly doesn't rate them, let's be honest. You know, he's sort of changing, and we know Creswell's weaknesses. But, you know, and I think Dan touched on it with a couple of his stats saying Creswell's had the most attacking third touches last season in the whole of the team. And what you see from both of them is they push so high, and that's okay.
Yeah,
you can get back and you've got the awareness to tuck in. But Creswell's one of them guys where he hasn't got the pace anymore, so he can't do it. And even for the first goal, Fornals had gone to push him on the left. Realistically, Fornals should have been playing further up. Creswell should have been able to press him, and defensively, he should be better to stop that cross coming in. I think it's from Manquillo, and then the rest is what it is. But they are just problems, and even if they aren't problems like they are tonight, where Newcastle really didn't exploit them, they just prevent us in other areas, and we're just constantly one step behind. This square pegging, round holes all the time, and the Fornals thing, like you say, if you don't watch Fornals for the whole game, which you wouldn't do, you think he was decent. And sometimes I see him up and I think he's trying things, and his work rate's not bad, but he's not playing he should be playing number 10. To him, play number 10, press from the front, support Antonio, and try and create chances. That's what you're good at. I'd be putting either Anderson or Yarmolenko maybe on the left, but he can't trust them. And this is my point. I don't think he trusts those players to start. So why are they still here if he doesn't want to play them?
Yeah, just going back to the goal, to the first goal. Did you feel that Callum Wilson's foot was high and maybe showing, or would you rather see Fabianski being a little bit more stronger there?
Oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. So I don't know. In my head, as a neutral, I just thought Wilson just nicked it. And I think maybe if that was Allaire or Antonio, we'd be saying that was a decent poacher's finish. And that's the problem I've got. Like, because I was watching my parents, they said, "Isn't that a high boot?" And I was like, "It is, but he's gone for it. He's gone to. He hasn't gonna, hit the keeper." So I mean, it's typical Callum Wilson, mate. I covered it in the preview, covered it on moaning. Of course, he was going to score against us. It was just like, there you go. But he looked up for the game as well. To be fair to him, though, he had a couple of chances.
He did, yeah, definitely. I don't know where we go from here now, to be perfectly honest with you, in terms of the next few fixtures, and obviously we have to play everyone at some point. But where do you think that we can improve? What do you think Moyes might be able to do tactically? Is there anything that you can think of?
Oh, it's a tough one, mate. I mean, I think I touched on it with Max. Is a bit with the Noble thing. This Noble playing in a number 10 role it's bizarre. It's absolutely bizarre to me. I think works if the team are working as a collective and they're all working hard and they're organised. Obviously, we know our fullbacks get picked off, but Noble's getting a free role because Moyes knows defensively he's not as athletic as he used to be. His passing's off as well, which is a real problem as well. If you can't run, you should be at least trying to keep the ball. We're just not seeing enough from Noble to affect the game, and it massively reminds me of when Kevin Nolan was playing at West Ham and his pace went a bit, and he used to play every week. And we used to go, look, he's got to go because the team's not playing right, and he just continued to play him because he trusted him. I know Noble's got value as a leader. I appreciate that, but against Arsenal, and I'm not joking, like you see how good Arsenal are playing out from the back and picking teams off. If Noble gets pressed, they're going to run rings around him. So we've got to think of a different. He's got to switch it up next week. I was crying for them to play Allaire up front with Antonio just to try and make something happen, but they don't play how they should play. They should be playing as two up front men, but Antonio will always come deep and try and play to Allaire, and that's not how I think you're going to get the best out of either of them.
No, I would agree with that. I think what was noticeable as well was that how isolated Antonio was at times. We're sort of talking, 15, maybe even 20 yards. And that was even with Bowen being the most, advanced of our attacking players, sort of being closest to him. And that's a major problem for me because, we all know that Antonio can, through his pace and his power, get past players very, very easily. But that's not going to happen every week. It might come off one game in, 5 or 6, for example. So he needs, in my opinion, certainly from an attacking point of view, he needs to see how he can improve that side of it. I would agree that you probably can't pick No, but I'd understand why No will be picked because it's thinking being a bit more solid. But that only works if you can't then play Fornals for me wide left.
Yeah.
You've got to have a more attack-minded player. Sorry, not a more attack-minded player, that's unfair. Fornals, more of a player that can play wide left and actually has the ability to maybe go beyond the striker. So if that means that Antonio has to play wide left next weekend and Haller goes up top, then so be it.
Yeah.
You definitely. I don't think that there'll be a situation where Noble gets dropped by Moyes. I personally don't see it. I'm a massive Noble fan, but obviously, as you've just touched on yourself, he's not a regular. He can't be a regular player, regular starter. You bring him in for the odd game and maybe chuck him on at the end for 20 minutes or so. If you're winning the game, just to try and shore things up. But I don't think he's got the ability now to play 90 minutes. I think he's more of a player now that's maybe 65, 70 minutes each week. If you know you're making that sub before the game, is that really a good idea? For me, probably not.
The Noble thing is like, it's a good point. You'd bring him on for 10, 20 minutes, but if he plays like that where he's misplacing passes all the time, you want someone to shore it up and be defensive and solid. And listen, I'm as upset about Noble losing his form as much as anyone, because when he's on form against Tottenham or he plays out of his skin, it is good to watch, but it's just not there anymore. And I don't know. I personally feel, I don't know about you, but I feel like Moyes has obviously been thrown under the bus a little bit with his transfer window. He can't make the signings that he needs to make. And that's why we're seeing the same team, because his only solution is go defensive and hit teams on the counter, because he's not been able to bring the players in or keep the players that he needs to play maybe a more progressive style. And I'd like to think Moyes isn't that tactically unaware that he doesn't know that Fornals isn't a left winger. You'd hope to think he knows he's a playmaker. But, you look at our bench today as well, let's be honest, Wilshere wasn't on it, neither was Masuaku. Then you've got the likes of Lanzini, Yarmolenko, Anderson, Haller. It's a crazy bench to have, really, in the Premier League. Them players are on some serious money. So it does actually make me worry, because it's clearly he ain't got the right squad that he wants. And he's backing in the next few weeks, because we're just going to have the same style of play. And if we're not even going against Newcastle and giving them a game, what are we going to be like when we come up against Tottenham, Leicester, Arsenal City? It's going to be a nightmare, mate.
Absolutely. When you look at that firepower that we've got on the bench, it is criminal to think that our top goal scorer was Antonio last year with 10 goals, and that was only because he effectively got 4 goals in that game against Norwich.
Yeah.
And it's quite worrying over a 38-game season, really. We shouldn't be in this position with that quality. There are definitely some good players in there. It's just so frustrating. Just something on Fornals that's just sort of pops into my head, and going back to actually Moyes being at Everton. Obviously on that left-hand side, he played with Baines, clearly his left back. He also had Stephen Pienaar, didn't he? The South African player, who I wouldn't have actually said was a wide midfield player. Not certainly in the traditional, or even the somebody who's got a bit of an inside forward. I'm just thinking, is Moyes thinking that that's how he sees Fornals? Is that potentially that type of player? Although I don't think he's as quick as Pienaar.
Nah, that's the big thing for me, mate. He's not like Pienaar.
Yeah, that's all I can. That's really all I can think of, and that's why he's persisting with it, because he can play a pass, but as we say, I think he needs to be in that number 10 role, really, so that he can have much more of an impact on the game. Because at the moment, he's, especially with Noble playing as well, it's almost like we're playing actually with 2 less men on the pitch, because we're almost carrying 2 players before we've even started. As we say, we've had, probably have the odd game where we might pick up a win, and then suddenly everyone's going from, say, 6 out of 10 to maybe a 7 or an 8 out of 10, and suddenly we get the result and everyone's happy days. But after that performance tonight, it makes you deflated. and you're sort of thinking, well, even it sounds crazy just after one game, but you think, well, where's our next point going to come from?
Yeah.
Irrespective of the run that we've got, because that was a really, really poor performance. There didn't seem to be any real like bite to our play. You know, passes were too slow, and really, really disappointing.
Yeah, like I was going to ask you, mate, how do you think we turn this around? Because it feels like we're going to have to turn something around already. Like, do you think it's a couple of signings? Do you think, I mean, I'm starting to look at Moyes and thinking, well, have you not got any other ideas on how to get the most out of these players? And and this is the one thing I will say, if we lose the next few games and we are rock bottom or whatever it is, do we start looking at Moyes in November if he doesn't get results against the teams like Fulham and say, actually, are we going to have to replace him? And even if we replace him, who's going to come into the club in the current state that it's at?
It's quite funny you say that. I've said to my missus, potentially Moyes could be out of a job by November, which seems crazy in a way, considering that he played his part in keeping us up last year. Because I think we could, this isn't. I don't like to set alarm bells ringing, especially after one game, but we could potentially be sitting bottom of the league, 0 points after 7 games. Who could we get? I don't know. I think we're maybe pushing the panic button a little bit too early, and that's probably a conversation for another day. What can you do to turn it around? I think maybe a change of assuming, as we touched on earlier on in the week, the board are claiming we've got no money, or potentially we've got, so let's say 18 million for Dean Garner. If that's all he's got, and that's all he's got, he's going to have to work a miracle in the transfer market. We definitely need some defenders. Whether or not if that will cover, as you say, we definitely need a centre half, and we need a left back. Whether or not we get lucky and find 2 players that are of Premier League quality for that amount of money, I don't know enough about players that are out there to be able to say yes, to be perfectly honest, but that would be the challenge. Obviously, it doesn't help the fact that he hasn't really got a scouting network. So that makes it difficult. If new signings don't happen, then he's got to try and change. I still like Thought at the back personally. I'm not a massive fan of wing backs, especially in our current predicament, because we haven't got the players to play.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't feel. So I think he needs to either go 2 in the middle of the midfield and push the third central midfield player we saw tonight into the number 10 role, be that Fornals or be it Lanzini. And I would have serious considerations for bringing Hilaire back into the team. And you could quite easily swap Antonio and Bowen over during the 90 minutes. Alternate between the 2 wings as a starting point, just to try and cause some havoc. I think that would give us some genuine pace going forward. The only other option, of course, that he's got is that, as much as we don't want this to happen, is we're going to have to say bye-bye to Declan Rice. I'm not obviously caught the end of your conversation there. I wouldn't accept the 40 million, 50 million plus 30 million swap deal. Barkley, I think that's crazy. But I don't trust Sullivan not to accept it, which worries me. I'm not convinced, even if you forget Barkley part of the deal, I'm not convinced because of COVID that we would get 80 million for him anyway. I think we should hold out for it, but I don't think that we would get it. But having said that, of course, there are plenty of clubs that are getting full market value, so there's no reason why we shouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised if we just accept the first offer that comes along, just so then the board can then turn around to all our supporters and go, well, we've invested the whole of the Declan Rice money, for example, into the playing squad, and David Moyes has been able to buy a player at, whoever that is. The problem, of course, with letting Rice go is then we've then got to go and buy someone to replace him. Because you then start asking questions, well, are you going to play Noble every week? Is Josh Cullen ready for the Premier League? I don't know. What about Connor Coventry? Are you going to chuck them two into the first team, especially a team I think that's so low on confidence? I think it's a really tough ask for them, really.
Yeah, mate. It's like you touched on the Declan thing. I think that more than likely that's going to happen. If he goes, well, I think he's worth at least 80 million even in the current market, just because of the nature of the deals around. You know, Harry Maguire was 80 million. Why should we be selling our best player for any less than that? But I think the problem is tonight, what you saw is obviously James Tarkowski is our biggest transfer target that we're aware of, that we know that the club's actively searching for. Does James Tarkowski change the result tonight? Don't think he does. So it shows you, and we're going to look to try and beat these teams around. We need to beat the teams around us. And West Ham have always got this history of losing against a Newcastle, we're beating a Tottenham or a Liverpool. And in order to stay up, we need to be beating people like Newcastle. It's as simple as that. And when we went against them at St James's Park, we gave them a game, we scored some goals, we should have won the game. That's what we should have had tonight. And I don't know, mate. I just feel we need striking options. We need different looks. Maybe another midfielder in there now, and definitely, a left back and a right back, because I just think Fredericks' form is unpredictable. I think against other teams will prey on that side. I think he got away with it a little bit tonight because I think St Maximin likes to come inside, likes to try and run, and obviously Fredericks can match him for pace. But when you come up against teams that will double up on you, and you've got wing backs bombing on, it's a different level. So yeah, mate, we're going to have to, if we do sell Declan, then we are going to have to really strengthen in terms of creativity, and definitely defensively, because there are holes all over the pitch, and we're the only team that hasn't brought anyone in. So it's a nightmare.
Which is absolutely crazy. We haven't signed anybody yet. We've got, let's just take Crystal Palace, for example. They've obviously, we got told, getting maybe off the subject that we're here, but, we got told, I'm going to go to the London Stadium, it's going to increase revenues, increase the transfer budget for the manager. Well, what do Palace get? What, 20, 25,000, I think, something like if that?
Yeah.
We get 60,000 on average, or whatever it is. Well, why are they able to spend 10? What were they spent for Eze? I don't know. And they've signed the guy from, I think it's a free transfer, wasn't he? Ferguson from West Brom. They got.
Yeah.
Why are they? Yeah, definitely. I really like him from what I've seen. But why have they been able to spend money? They've been hit by COVID. It doesn't make any sense, and I think definitely that the Rice is going to get sold. It's only a matter of time. If it does happen, which I think it will, I hope it happens sooner rather than later, because the clock is obviously ticking on that transfer window. We don't want to be sitting here a couple of days before the window, Rice is gone, and then suddenly we're, which would happen with us, we then make silly offers for players that might not necessarily be the manager's chosen players or haven't been looked at properly. And that's what would worry me, because we haven't got the infrastructure in place, as we well know.
No, definitely, Mel. I think they definitely hope for that deflated COVID market, but unfortunately for them, it hasn't worked out quite like that. Teams are spending money. So, but yeah, mate, thanks for coming on once again. Pleasure to talk to you. Hopefully, I'll see you soon as well. Hopefully, on a lighter note.
Yeah, definitely. Speak to you soon. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Take care, fella.
See you later. Bye.
Right, got them all lined up. Let's bring in Dennis. Dennis, mate, nice job. Playing back the result.
Well, I'm just thinking about the fantasy points, mate.
I don't know. I ain't even checked my fantasy, to be fair.
Oh, mate, I did not put Salah as my captain. I put Aubameyang.
So did I.
Yeah, I absolutely melted on that one. But Wilson, that's the thing that immediately, from my rage at Diop's attempt at marking him, I then went, well, Diop's looking after my fantasy team there. I mean, I'll probably need to look at it again, but from what I saw, look, Ogbonna attacks the ball, and Diop is in fucking Latvia. Yeah. Like, that's how far away from Wilson he is. Like, you mentioned there about, does Tarkowski affect the result? I tell you what, Tarkowski gets goal side of Wilson for that goal. It's a lack of experience. It's not a lack of ability. It's a lack of experience and spatial awareness from Diop. That's why it's so frustrating for him. again, I need to look at it again. I only watched it in live. I'll probably look back and realise the comment I just made was total bollocks. Because
I think you're not far off. My initial thought was, again, it's another goal down that left hand side. Creswell tried to tuck in and let Fornals deal with it, and he couldn't defend the cross. It comes in, obviously. I think Andy Carroll flicks it on, and I thought it was a decent nick from Wilson, in fairness.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. There is a complete lack of cohesion of those two centre backs, not from Ogbonna, because I think Ogbonna is doing what he should do. He's aggressive. He attacks the ball. Diop has to be more aware, but I think that's a trait of the entire defence. If I'm honest, mate, there is a lack of awareness of when you're pushing forward or someone else in that back four is pushing forward, you should be covering, and we just got caught out of there.
It's the same again. It's exactly the same to parrot what other people said. It's the same lack of ideas. It's the same lack of movement. It's the same lack of tempo. It's the same players being played out of position, like you mentioned. Fornells there. He is not a winger. He is a rather, He's got a bit of pace on him, but he's a central player. Whether you play him in the middle or you play him as a 10, he's not a winger. And it's almost like the number of misplaced passes that we had. I mean, to sound facetious, it was almost like they were trying to pick out a young attacker that's natural on the wing that we could have had in pre-season friendlies. I don't know who thinking of who I might be thinking of. They were trying to pick out.
Oh yeah,
they were trying to set they were set up to play with Dean Garner. There was one ball over the top, and it was a typical great Rice ball onto the right wing, and it just went over Bowen's head. It was cutting inside, and there were so many misplaced passes tonight. And this was our one winnable game. That they showed the run of fixtures in the build-up, and it's pretty shocking. But as I said on the call on Thursday, typical West Ham, we'll end up getting nicking a win somewhere. But I haven't seen it with how many Souness has gone in on the team as well. Yeah. I mean, he's a professional moaner, but everyone can see what the problems are. Absolute mile off.
I gotta be honest, mate. I literally switched off after the second goal because I had to get on here, and two, I knew what it was going to go like.
I'll be honest. I was laughing when Hendrick scored. I just sort of went, "All right, that's done."
Well, yeah, but the argument is for that goal as well. I thought Creswell maybe could have got closer to him. I know it's a brilliant shot, but it was one of them things.
You can't. He's an experienced defender. See, he hasn't got the excuse that I can make for Diop. Cresswell is an experienced Premier League defender, and he backs off him. I mean, Hendricks is a good goal. I think Hendricks is an underrated player. Fans that were saying that he wasn't good enough for us on a free transfer, I was saying at the time, on a free transfer, I'd bite your arm off.
Well, yeah,
a squad player like Hendricks. Yeah, if we were to say, "Oh, we'll bid $8 million for him," I'd say, "Oh, But a free transfer, I'd have taken him 100%.
I said the same to Dan, because we discussed it when we were looking at transfer targets, and X had mentioned a few, and he mentioned John Lundstrom and Jeff Hendricks, and I said, okay, they're not immediate starters, they're not names that jump out of the team sheet, but they are good, solid players, and they give a bit of energy. And I thought today as well, from that midfield, Noble, it just looked completely lost for me. There's misplaced passes all over the place. Doesn't impress himself on the game. If he's going to play a number 10, he should either be pressing quite high, or he should be trying to link the play, and putting Fornals on that left instead, where he should be playing the number 10. It's just criminal, mate.
Again, it's players playing out of position, but again, it goes, as much as I don't want to come on and get the violin out for Noble, but why is it? It's probably need an entire show based on this, mate. Why do we always end up getting pissed off with our captains? Why do fans always turn on our captains? Ever since Rio Coca, admittedly, Rio Coca was very justified, but I remember fans going mental at Lucas Neal, who was okay as far as I was concerned. Upson was absolutely crap in that final season, but other than that, okay. Nolan got a barrage of hate, mainly because of his lack of pace, and now it seems like the fans, there's the usual his legs have gone brigade, but over the last, I'd say, 6 months, the fans have really gone on Noble. And then he'll have a game like Norwich, admittedly it was against a poor team like Norwich, where he'll just run the show and remind everyone that he is that good. So I don't see that happening in the running games we've got, purely because of the type of games that he struggles in. We've got City coming up.
I think that's what it is, mate. I think that's what it is with Noble. Don't get me wrong. I think he does have his games. Like the Norwich game is obviously a good example. But that's in a game with a team that suits him, where they gave him a lot of space, where Norwich pressed high and he could pick a ball over the top. To be honest, in this type of game, you know, you had Shelby and Isaac Hayden sitting deep. He wasn't going to get past them or create anything.
No, never.
And the problem is with him, and the reason why I think people, I don't say I turn on him. I just think from a playing point of view, he shouldn't play. But he's not. He's clearly playing because either he offers something in a leadership quality. I can't personally see why Moyes would play him week in, week out in that position for the benefit of the team, because it's clear he's not up to the level, in my opinion.
But it's more for what he can bring, like that clear voice on the pitch. Admittedly, you've now got players like Rice coming through that can marshal the midfield, but he's going as far as we're concerned, as when we had your man on just before. Like, again, it has to happen sooner rather than later, because the panic buying will set in. But you know what this board are like. They'll end up signing, and this is no disrespect to the signing, but we'll end up getting like a player we don't need, like Mkhitaryan, who may have more talent than our players, but he's a carbon copy of what we already have. Yeah. Like the similarities between him, Fornells, Anderson, Lanzini, they'll all emerge of each other. He may be better, yes, but you know, we'll get him, we'll get Barkley in. Again, we won't replace the Rice position. I mean, 10 million Kante is never happening. It's simply put, it's not happening. But would be insane to turn that down, because it's like, okay, but Kante would never sign for us. He just wouldn't. He would never agree to join us.
But I just think, like, this is the problem. I think we saw it today. The areas that we struggle in are clearly not just problem areas when they're under threat. So like the fullbacks, when teams like Burnley do attack us from the wings and do get in behind. Like, I just think the impact that it has on the whole of the team, like the wing backs not even getting forward today. They offered nothing. You know, not having a natural left winger, not having a natural number 10. Even you could argue that Antonio's not a natural striker either. There are so many square peg, round hole situations that we can't. That really and truthfully, if Moyes had been back the way he should have done, I do believe he would have tried to have resolved it. Yeah,
he would. He looked at the play, like he was so confident and so much conviction in what he was saying. There was no way that he didn't believe that was going to happen. I mean, I said Moyes is a lot of things, but he knows the game. He understands football. That's why now he's being so much more defensive. That's why in his pre-match interview he backed Noble, because he knew that if he publicly turned around and said anything else, that the media that are already saying, "Oh, Noble shouldn't be saying that," are going to double down, even if the board are putting pressure on him. Because again, like you said, there is definitely that divide, and I think Moyes is having a bit of a face turn. He's now realising it. He's now right. I've got to be united with my players, because at the end of these 8 games, if the boys still back me, I'm probably still in a job. Whereas if I suck up to the board and I don't get the results, I've alienated several of my playing staff. The fans are out against me. It's going to be so much easier for them to go. And we would say, well, you kissed up to the board. You laid with snakes. You made your bed. You better lie in it. Yeah. But the comparisons to other clubs, like a friend of mine, again, another friend of mine I was talking to, literally, but while I was waiting to come on this show, a friend of Michael, she was saying she's a Leeds fan, and she was saying that we are 03-04 Leeds right now. If you remember, you might be you're a few years younger than me, Corey. That was the year they got relegated from the Prem.
No, it's Paducah and Kuhl and players like that.
Yeah. Well, they'd lost Kuhl that summer. They sold him for only 5 million. So they sold so many star players for less than their value because of their financial position, and they replaced them with mercenary loan signings that just didn't want to be there. Admittedly, we haven't done the loans, but we've got loads of players that just I'd wager would rather be somewhere else. Like with the way they've been hung out to dry in the press, like it's been public knowledge that we want a new left back. So Masuaku and Cresswell would not surprise if they were like, you know what, Brighton's a good option, you know, for example. And then what happens is they've got like a big money striker that isn't being played, therefore he gets the ump. Mark Viduka got the ump. They've got one talented midfielder that's in the shop window the entire time, James Milner. They've got equally Declan Rice fills that, but he also fills the Alan Smith role in the local lad that gets sold to a local rival. The comparisons are there, like the whole meltdown. There was I'm going to look it up tonight. Apparently, there's an ITV documentary all about it on YouTube, and she said like it's called Leeds. The comparisons are right there,
I think
Like-
I've watched it because they started doing a couple of Leeds documentaries. I think Sky Sports did one as well. So
Yeah.
I watched the bit where they sold a lot of their players. I think it was after the Champions League semi-final.
Yeah, and then it's like the dying days there. Like they sold Oliver Decor for £3 million to Roma, and he was like their entire holding. He was their only holding midfielder, so they had to re-sign David Batty, who was like 34 and completely gone legs wise. So, and that's literally where we're at now. In that the prize assets that are there, they're completely damaged, and there's no cohesion in the team. They got a manager that was, because they got rid of Venables, so they brought in Eddie Gray, who's never managed since. So it's like Moyes is like, again, he's the Eddie Gray character. And as much as it sounds like rambling, if you look, because I had a little look at the team while I was waiting to come on, and I was like, yeah, I can see this. I looked at the results, tough start. So the writing really is on the wall that something really does need to drastically change, but the solutions that are going to happen are going to be long-term solutions. Like you're talking about Americans coming in and buying us, and that's going to take years. That's going to take years to ratify.
The thing as well, obviously, allegedly they've got the clause that says, he doesn't want to sell before 2023 because he loses a lot of the sale value. I think you've also got the fact that Sullivan values the club at 800 million, which is ludicrous. And I think that is largely based on his perception that he can get the stadium, that he can own it, and therefore West Ham will be worth that. But you've got to look at it. If you're Sullivan, and I think this is the difference, and I could be talking out of turn between him and Ashley, where Ashley's looked at the Newcastle team and he's done it on a few occasions where he's gone, actually, do you know what? Maybe I do need to bring someone in, like he's done this summer with like Jamal Lewis, Fraser Wilson, players that he probably financially doesn't think that's a good idea, but's done it for the club, just gone, do you know what? Just give them the players. But Sullivan's in a position where he needs to look at it and say, actually, do you know what? We're crying. No one can tell me he's not looking at us going, there's no creativity, there's no pace, that the fullbacks aren't good enough. He should be sitting there saying, and even if it is based on loans and freebies that can slowly improve the team, he should be doing his best to do it. And I'm confused why we're constantly, like the rumour is Jack Wilshere's going to leave this week when they tear up his contract. Okay, that's 100k just sitting there. Are you actually going to reinvest that into loan signings, or are you just simply going to sit on it? Because
like what will probably happen is we'll fob off Rice for a deal involving Ross Barkley. We'll sign Brewster on loan and say, look, exciting young player. Look at the shiny. Look at the shiny. And this ask us to buy season tickets and expect it to happen. And then we'll probably get Higuain on a free transfer. He's had his transfer ripped up. This week. So, although apparently he's off to America, but Sullivan will work his magic and pay him 300 grand a week to sit on the bench. But otherwise, I think the other talking point that we haven't had tonight is the fact that VAR again. The first half, it wasn't a handball. Second half, I say it was a handball. Not since Stefan Hencho in the 2001 FA Cup final have I seen a blatant handball go completely unpunished. It was so horrifically blatant, that one in the second half. But then I say that's through watching it live. If I go back and watch the highlights, I'll have to put an apologetic tweet up or something. I haven't seen it, but from my estimation, people that have texted saying that was a bloody penalty. In
my opinion, it is. Like I did say that right at the beginning. It basically, obviously, it come off. I think it was Hendrick's arm, and my argument was like, okay, so if Rice gets penalised last season, then that's definitely the same. And the commentator was saying, oh yeah, he couldn't have done anything about it. And I'm like, well, neither could Declan Rice. So what's the argument here? Like, if we're going to play by the letter of the law, it should be a penalty. And West Ham don't really ever seem to get that luck. And maybe that was the point we needed, maybe a penalty or something.
It's a running joke on my football WhatsApp group is that I was so excited for VAR. Because I was like, yes, because in the 18-19 season, I remember there were so many things went against us. That Anderson offside against United at Old Trafford, Mane's goal being allowed when Milner had gone offside, Perez having that goal disallowed at 2-2 against Leicester when he was so onside, it was criminal. Then it happens, and then everything goes against us. Some of it right, like Snodgrass's goal away at Sheffield United was a load of bollocks when it hit like the outside of Declan's wrist. And it's like, what can you do? Yeah. And it gets disallowed and things like that. But now VAR again, because like the Carroll one at the very beginning, he puts on a West Ham shirt before VAR, he gets a booking at best for that. I mean, it's like he got sent off for touching Flores' ponytail back in the day. I mean, and now it's so Andy, I know it's your first game back, but you can't elbow people in the head, okay? That's what he got tonight. Whereas back when he played back before VAR, he'd get a booking or worse. I mean,
let me ask you last question. How do you think we can try and turn this around? Can we do it in time for Arsenal, or are we literally just sitting tight until the end of the window and hoping something changes?
Well, it's one of those things where it's all well and good me talking, but I don't. The solutions, in my opinion, the solutions just aren't there. It's too late. The solutions were there earlier in the window. Again, what I've said is that, like, you've made your bed and now we're going to have to lie in it. David Sullivan and David Gold are going to have to look themselves in the mirror and say that, look, you could have been dug into your own, again, allegedly. I don't want to get sued for libel or anything, but I can imagine that they could have found the money to sign Eze, to buy that American left back from Wigan, forgot his name, Robinson.
Yeah, Anthony Robinson.
Anthony Robinson for £2 million. I'm sure between those two transfers, you could only and then sell Ghana and then get that Rice money in and buy some half-baked holding mid from South America, because we know he loves the South American signing, or just re-sign Carlos Sanchez, or whatever they want to do. I mean, but then they can say, right, well, we got Eze and we got the left back that, Moyes, the young attacking left back that Moyes wanted. That's what we could have done. But now it's too late. Like, if we sell Rice, that's going to absolutely rip the soul out of the team.
Yeah.
Like, as much as he's a good player on the pitch, if you, again, I know it's all PR, but watch those YouTube videos of the West Ham team. Everyone loves the guy, and he just loves life, and he's such a big personality in the dressing room. It would appear, that. I mean, it's not, and also, but it's a double whammy. It's not like David Martin. David Martin appears to be a good lad and a good character in the dressing room, but if you release him,
it doesn't impact the team in the same way.
And it's argue that Anang is arguably a better goalie, just not as experienced, But whereas Rice is an integral part of the way we play. I mean, so you sell him, then you replace him with who? Who out there could realistically, and I hate using the word realistically, who could realistically replace Rice and be willing to come join the circus?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of anyone. It's going to have to be someone that no one's ever heard of, and it's going to have to be pot luck. And luck is not on our side. So who knows? Maybe they'll sell him and they'll sign someone for £500,000. It turns out to be the holding midfield equivalent of, Messi, and we'll be fine. And then they can sell him next summer, and then they can sell the stadium a year later. Sorry, sell the ground a year later after making those two profits. Maybe, I don't know. But sorry, that sounds a bit petulant. Me just not answering your question with a load of hyperbole, but that's basically what we're at. In the whatever we do, we're completely damned. We sell Rice. Okay, what do you do then? So you sell Rice. Let's say we sell him for £80 million. Let's say we get that £80 million. What do we do then? Oh, hi everyone. We've just pocketed £80 million. We want your player, but we're only going to spend 40. No, you got £80 million. Give us £80 million. Come on, David. Give us £80 million. David Sullivan is not a good negotiator in the transfer market. Good businessman elsewhere in property, yes. But if we let the world know that we've got £80 million from Declan Rice, we are not going to get any bargains. We're not going to get a £10 million left back, a £20 million holding mid, a £20 million striker. They're going to turn around and say, no, you've got the fucking money, spend it. And that's the problem that we always do. So it's to go on a slight tangent, but we're not so bad this recently, but like before X became so prominent, do you not remember that the Sullivans and Hugh Jackson would tell everyone their plan?
Yeah.
So they were like, oh, we're going to sign Boney. Oh, Swansea signed Boney. Oh, crap. We'll sign Carroll. Okay. Oh, he's injured. Okay. Well, Carroll's our main guy, but we're going to sign Solomon Kalou. Solomon Kalou doesn't want to be back up to Andy Carroll. He wants to be the main guy. Oh, no, you're going to be the main guy for 5 months till Carroll's out. And then no one wanted to join us because they knew that as soon as Carroll became fit, they're going to play second fiddle. And that's why we end up with Carlton Cole. That's the problem. We tell everyone what our big plan is. Like trying to sign Lacazette and Batshuayi in the 2016 summer. We told everyone, we're going to spend £30 million on this player. And they're like, no, I don't want to join you. You're crap. Lukaku, we're going to loan Lukaku. Everton have bid £28 million. We have them on loan. No, Mr. Sullivan, you can't have them on loan. Like, it's just, yeah. I mean, I could go on, but you get the point. In that, if we sell Rice for as much money as we want, for Rice, we're not going to get the team we need off the back of that, because we've told everyone we've got the money. Whereas if we pretend, say, oh, we only got 40, and we actually got 80, you know, are we still going to invest that money wisely? Probably not. We're going to sign a bunch of gambles and has-beens, players that play for big teams that they want to get rid of the show because of attitude, injuries, whatever, you know, and it's a mistake we make every goddamn time.
So I'll take it as nothing then.
No, it's just whatever we do, I think we're buggered, if I'm honest with you. It's too late. 1 month ago, I could have laid out a plan on what you do, but it's all hindsight. It's all if buts and maybes. You know, it's all well and good looking back and saying what we could have done. But right now, I think keeping hold of Rice is our only chance of staying up. But our only way of improving is by selling Rice.
Yeah, catch 22.
I mean, even if we are as we are now, and let's say we get Bruce on loan, that will improve us. I'd say he's much better centre forward than Antonio, because he is a natural centre forward. But can he play on his top on his own? No, we're still going to have to change the system. We're still going to have to stop playing 4-Ls wide. So then you're going to need to get an out-and-out left winger. If you're not going to play Anderson, you need to somehow find a left winger that's going to join us on loan or on the cheap, unless you're still Rice. But you're still Rice, you're bugger the team. No matter what solution you've got, it's like a game of chess. Whatever solution you've got, your king is stranded and we're buggered.
Yeah. No, true, mate. Listen, thanks for coming on once again. Always enjoyable to hear your things.
Sorry to leave you on such a dour, sad note there.
It's fine. We know where we're at as a club.
That's all right. Catch you later, mate.
Yeah, see you later, fella. Take care.
Cheers, mate.
Right. He's been waiting a while, so I will bring him in. Charles, mate, thanks for waiting. How you doing?
No worries, mate. No worries. Happy to wait. I think I'm surprised you haven't got. I'm surprised your laptop hasn't broken without with the demand of people coming on the show, because I tell you what, you're offering a great service, mate. You saved me a ton of money on therapy, that's for sure.
Oh god, yeah. No, mate. It's I think I've simmered down a little bit since the kickoff, since the end of the game. But
well, you know what? It's funny because I was I think I was saying, I might have mentioned it to you and Dan in the midweek, but my expectations for West Ham were so low going into this game that I would have been elated with a draw. You know, I would have been so happy just taking a point away, and especially with the fixtures we've got coming up. I mean, expecting more than 3 points out of those games it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen at all. The funny thing was, I actually thought we didn't do too badly in the first half. Now, I will preface this by saying we didn't do too badly for what we have and, you know, who we are, which is West Ham United. You know, I thought Fredericks actually looked half decent, made some good tackles at the back and created some opportunities. We were pretty wasteful, but, you know, we looked like we could have done something. You know, going into the second half, and then I don't know what happened in the second half. They must have been smoking something in there, because they just came out and they had no energy, no passion, no desire, no nothing.
Yeah.
And it was a slog to watch. It's literally, you know, watching paint dry would give me more joy than that, honestly. And to be fair to Newcastle, fair dues to them, because, you know, they had a game plan. I think they know I think everyone knew what their game plan was. It was score and then, you know, just run out the clock, you know.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did. They got Callum Wilson, you know, the hex that against West Ham United that he is, and, you know, obviously he's going to pop up and score, and he did. I think after that, I think I knew the game was going to be over. But, you know, Newcastle they didn't have anything to do really. And once they got that second goal, they were just clear through. So they're looking like a decent team. They actually look like a team heading in the opposite direction of us, and have certainly improved in areas. I mean, I think Wilson, whether you like him or not, is a big improvement on Jolinton from last year.
Yeah.
And they've made some really shrewd free signings, Hendricks, Fraser. So they're looking really good. But the antithesis of that, the complete opposite of that, is of course West Ham United. And I mean, I literally just turned off my phone pretty much as soon as the game was over. Turned off the TV. I had to put myself in a calm space before coming on here.
In a dark room with a wet towel over you.
Absolutely, mate. Lights out, everything. Got the candle on and everything. Nice, nice, calm environment.
I mean,
it was abysmal. It was abysmal, and I'm hoping that will show people now just how dire a state that West Ham are in. Not just West Ham fans. West Ham fans have known this for ages, but football fans in general. And I mean, I presume your thoughts are pretty similar as most West Ham fans.
Yeah, mate. I mean, I don't know where you start with it, but I think the most discouraging thing about the whole performance was, again, the lack of creativity, the lack of pressure in the final third. We just couldn't link up play at all. And I thought personally we'd moved on from that a little bit, particularly towards the end of last season, where Souček started to get forward. Antonio was a little bit more prominent in the final third. Bowen was cutting in and making chances. Tonight it was just absolutely, there was nothing to shout about or to trouble Newcastle. And I think Newcastle, like you said, once they get that goal, they're going to sit deep, and they've got the organisation, they've got the defenders to do it. I actually thought, I think Manquillo's quite a good defender.
I was surprised actually by Manquillo's performance. He did well.
Yeah, him, and then Jamal Lewis as well. He didn't probably push forward as much as we saw him at Norwich, but we know he's a good defender. I just thought like it was such a weird performance. It was almost like we kind of didn't want to force the issue that we were holding out for this 0-0. And then you've got Noble playing in the number 10, which is probably the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And I'm not quite sure what the angle on that is. But yeah, mate, I just think even in the second half, like I seen obviously Souček and Rice pushed up a little bit further forward. There's no movement in front of them to try and play a ball in behind, or we don't have a quick fullback to get in and try and create chances. We just had nothing, mate. And I think in the game, if we can't break down Newcastle, how are we going to come up against the likes of Leicester City and Tottenham, with their defence and their players, and try and nick a goal against them? It's not going to happen. So I think we're all in the same boat where now we're looking at November thinking we could be near the bottom, if not rock bottom.
No, I completely agree, mate. I honestly, you've hit the note on everything there. One thing that did strike me though was I did have the feeling I like to keep myself fairly in the world of realism. I want to be a realist, and I don't want to be away with the fairies. And very good advice for your West Ham fan as well. Try and keep that realist mentality.
Yeah.
And my thoughts were after the last game of the season, last season, were well done, boys. We've done well to stay up. We've done enough. Moyes has done well. We've kind of found a formation that fitted us and everything like that. But looking at that squad that finished the season, I was just thinking, is that going to be a squad that pushes us forward? Are there pieces in that puzzle that can still do something for us? And I did have that in the back of my mind going into this game. But opening day, you want to be optimistic. It will be as optimistic as possible. And I think today's performance just showed me how much we need to tear down our current squad. I think there are certainly players in there that have a future at West Ham. I think obviously Souček and Bowen coming recently, and I think they've still got a lot to prove at West Ham. But Rice, of course, is the main centerpiece of that team. And we should keep it at all costs, although I highly doubt we will.
Yeah, not this one, mate.
Yeah, exactly. But other than that, firstly, I think I'm not quite sure what Fabianski was doing for that first goal. I can't say whether it was definitely his fault, but he definitely seemed uneasy. And I think since his injury last year, he's definitely hasn't seemed to be the same keeper that
No.
he is. It's interesting to find out that Villa are on the verge of signing Martinez. I think Martinez could be a great signing for us.
I was
It'd be a
gonna
very
say that.
true signing. He's obviously had some class performances recently, and doesn't seem like he'll cost it doesn't seem like he'll cost the world, but probably according to Golden Sullivan, he will. So I mean, Fab has done well for us in the past, and might do well again in the future. But I just thought that was interesting to see. But Cresswell, I think, has to go down with the wooden spoon in that game, because he was just dreadful, absolutely dreadful. I don't know where to begin. I think the positioning for the first goal was he was like a lost child in a supermarket. Like, he didn't know where he was. Oh, Bon has to come across and sort his mess out, and of course that leaves Wilson free to poke in. I honestly don't know why we signed him to a new contract last year. Me and my brother were joking that every free kick he scores, he gets a new 3-year deal. I mean, that could very well be the case. I don't know, but yeah, he. I mean, that position for me is way more needed than centre back. And if the board are pleading to spend as little money as possible, then I'd rather that £35 million that has just come out of nowhere for Tarkowski would rather be invested in buying a left back, and even maybe 2 left backs, because I don't think I can take Cresswell being on the bench, coming on and doing a job for us, because I just think he's past it. And yeah, I thought he was just. I mean, a lot of people have said over the last year that he's been poor, and he hasn't been great, but I hadn't seen anything that completely stuck out to me. But tonight just made me see the light, and he has got to go, or we've at least got to get a replacement for him. Yeah.
Yeah, like, listen, mate, you talk a lot of sense, particularly as last time. But let's touch on the Creswell thing. I don't think you are right. You are bang on with the cross. Something I said to Dennis before he came on was Fornals was pressing Manquillo, and realistically, he should be further up the pitch, and Creswell should be able to deal with that. I think there's also an argument as well for Hendrick's goal, albeit it was a really good goal. I don't think Creswell got close enough to him, made it difficult enough for him. I don't think it was that. Apart from those two things, it wasn't one of those games where he was getting picked apart. I think had Maximan been playing down the right-hand side, I think he would have really picked him apart, just because of how poor Creswell is.
Oh, honestly, it would have torn him apart.
Exactly. The issue with both of the fullbacks, in my opinion, even Fredericks, who had a good game, in my opinion, tonight, they push too high, and they don't have the ability or the awareness to either get back or close the space, or they're just not competent enough defenders. And we are seeing the same pattern over and over again. And literally, when that goal come in, the first one, I was like, that's another goal down the left-hand side. And I'm like, if you're Golden Sullivan and you're watching the game, there is no way you can tell me, even if you're not a football person, that you go, actually, do you know what? Clearly, we've got an issue. Clearly. And, I think me and Dan have been crying out for Rico Henry, £7 million. And people turn their nose up at Bernardo from Brighton. I agree, we've moved stadium. We should be aiming for a better player than Bernardo. But he's got to be better than Creswell. He really, really does. So you are bang on, mate. That position for me, you've got to go into the market. You've got to find someone. You look at a backup. You're right. I think we've got Longello coming through the under 23s. He's a brilliant player. But obviously he's not tested at the level. So, yeah, there's that, mate. But then you can also look and say tonight we really needed Brady, and we obviously sold a winger, and down that left-hand side it doesn't suit Fornals at all. There are so many positions, mate, and if you lose Declan Rice as well, you're looking at a holding midfielder. So, I mean, God knows what's going to happen.
Well, the funny thing is that you're completely right. I mean, with that Bernardo thing, obviously you look at it and you automatically get angry, because obviously we shouldn't be looking at that type of player. But honestly, why not? At this point, why not? If we can get him in, at least give him a try. Give something different a go. Because you're right. I think the awareness of all of our fullbacks. It includes Masuaku, it includes it includes sort of the early stages of Ben Johnson's career. We're just seeing this complete lack of defensive awareness. There was a moment in the first half, I think, when Rice gave the ball away and to Shelby, and I just like watching the fullbacks like come back. I just don't think they had any clue where to go or who to track, or Ogbonna was literally trying to hold two players within his grasp, and obviously you can't do that. And I don't know how they didn't score from that, but yeah, I mean, I'm a big proponent of getting new fullbacks in. But I mean, tactically today, I think Moyes, I don't want to say, I mean, look, he went for the safe option tonight. He wanted to put out the squad that finished the season, which, isn't the worst thing to do. But when you're playing players out of position, like you say, Noble at Cam, Fornals out on the wing, our winger, a great winger in Antonio playing up top. And, he did great at the restart, but he isn't a striker, and I've known that for ages now. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. It may work if you have the best players in the world, but we certainly do not have that. And, I honestly don't know. I was trying to describe to my brother who I was watching the game with, I was trying to describe how we were playing football. And honestly, there is no description for it. It's just sort of 11 players playing football, trying to win the ball, I guess, and trying to score, I guess. But there's no direction, there's no style, there's not a single bit of structured tactical awareness or intelligence on that pitch. And when we play Arsenal and City, who are 20, 50, 100 times more intelligent than we are, we're going to get absolutely, trashed. And, it's going to be, I tell you what, this week is going to be a massive, massive week for just everyone at West Ham. I think the board have to now sign players. They're going to have to splash money. Whether they have it or not, they're going to have to find it, because people are going to watch that performance, and people are watching that performance and saying that it's, we're going to be going down at the end of the season, which is crazy after one game. But the other point is, I think, everyone who's backing the board and saying, look, they've been hit by coronavirus and all this and everything like that. I mean, firstly, as everyone already knows, that's completely untrue for 19 of the Premier League clubs this year. Everyone has reinvested. Everyone has done their best to get new recruitments in and everything like that. Every other team has improved apart from us, essentially. And the second obvious thing is, if you can't afford it, just sell up. I honestly don't know, both from a footballing perspective and a business perspective, but also a personal perspective. I don't know what Gold and Sullivan are hoping to do. They have no direction now, and I'm really, really hoping that if they are actually West Ham fans, that they will look to sell soon. I can't be sure that will happen, and obviously with this 2023 clause, and the businessmen that they are, then well, I mean, you can already see where it's heading, but it's a shambles. It really is, and I think tonight has been a new low for West Ham, and let's just hope it can get better from here. But honestly, I really don't see it going better from here, and I think come the end of the season, relegation would not be a surprise to me. Relegation battle is inevitable until we do something, until we restructure not only the team on the field, but restructure the team behind the scenes. And yeah, it's a tough time to be a West Ham fan, but at least there's plenty to talk about, that's for sure.
This show will keep going, but yeah, mate, like you are bang on as well. Like picking the bones of that out as well. You've said that there are teams with much more intelligent players with a more intelligent way of playing. But I think what we've seen actually since they've come in is we've had certain figures at the club that have held it together a little bit. You see Sam Allardyce with his identity. He's a strong manager and he's got a strong style of play. Slaven Bilic come in, obviously played at West Ham, kept the fans on side, that type of thing. Pellegrini obviously had pedigree, and we brought a couple of players in as well. But this is the one time I really sort of look at the team and go, we've got no identity. We've got no, the soul of the club's gone. We've lost every aspect of it. And you look at other clubs around us, not even clubs that you'd say have even better players than us. They have better players. They're a more balanced squad, but not man for man. You could argue on paper, Ale, Anderson are really good players. I watched today. Is it Palace Southampton? Like both of the teams know exactly. Like you got Palace that are super organised, and then they've got the likes of Zaha and Eze to come on and sort of influence the game in the final third. You've got Southampton, but love to press. And I'm like, as a club, something like in terms of infrastructure is completely fundamentally wrong, where we haven't built that type of identity. We don't understand how we're supposed to play. I mean, in the second half, it was just let's just play a long ball from either Diop or Creswell and try and maybe hit Antonio. Those days are gone of playing that style of football. You've got to be a Premier League side. You've got to be able to, compete in terms of tactics and in terms of style of play. And listen, mate, I watched a little bit of that Leeds game. Let's be honest, Leeds don't have a better team than us on paper, but they know how to play. They're regimented. They will 100% stay up this season.
And you know exactly why, don't you? It's because they've got a great manager with an identity and a style that he wants to play with. And like you say, on paper, they really shouldn't be competing with us. But because they've got that great tactical awareness and intelligence, they're already proving to be a dangerous side in the Premier League. So you're completely right, mate, honestly.
Yeah, and it's worrying times, mate. Like I think this could be the season we do go down. I just get that feeling from it. Everything about the club is toxic. I actually think, to be honest, this COVID situation, not only in the transfer market, but particularly due to the fact that fans aren't in the stadium, is maybe benefiting them, or they just can't understand the impact. Because I think if fans had turned up to that, if that was a packed house today, can you imagine how toxic that atmosphere would have been? And they would have known about it.
Honestly, I mean, furthermore to your point, actually, is I still think it can get worse from here. Actually, just in terms of, I mean, if we're looking at the ownership of Golden Sullivan, the biggest word that comes, or the most prominent word that comes to mind, is just lack of care. There's no care for the club. And what I am worried about, especially with this COVID situation, if they do say the situation is as dire as they tell it as being, is that if we do end up going down, they're going to leave us. They're going to sell us for however much they can take, and leave us in potentially a dire financial situation, which would I mean, I don't even want to talk about the potential impacts that would have. But I mean, it's frustrating. I can't even get the words out, but it's frustrating because there is no. I think this is the biggest point that GSB out supporters are trying to get across, and there is no transparency and there is no connection with the fans. It is genuinely, you're either with us, you're against us, and that ego is so ingrained in that ownership, and it won't go until they sell up or they get rid of the club, however they do it. I really, really, really hope that if they are truly West Ham fans, and trust me, I've had my doubts, but if they truly are, they will do the right thing. They'll get rid of the club. They'll sell the club for a reasonable price for everybody, and we can move in a new direction. Because I think we can all agree that the Gold, Sullivan and Brady era, it's not going to work. It's not going to work, and unfortunately, we're going to have to probably wait until 2023 to see the back of them. But I'm hoping when that day does come that there'll be some brighter pastures ahead of us. But until then, we've got to roll with the pain, unfortunately, as West Ham supporters, and stick together. And I think the good thing that I've seen is there's a lot of unity with West Ham fans at the moment, just in terms of, we all know we're terrible, so we can all drown our sorrows with each other. And yeah, and that's the best thing about West Ham. But the best thing about West Ham is the fans and the community that we bring together. So it's nice to see that coming out. But West Ham Football Club is a London landmark, and we need to get it back to that. And unfortunately, we're not be doing that with these owners.
Yeah, it makes me think, like, when you talk about them saying that they're West Ham fans, even you look at the ambition of them as owners, they're looking at us, they're looking at the playing squad, They've got some players there that are disinterested, that don't want to play for the club, pay too high wages. You know, a manager that nobody really, in truth, wanted at the club. I know he did a good job, pretty much on both occasions, to keep us up, but he's not a progressive manager. Even you could argue the stadium move was a terrible move. It wasn't done properly. It's not a football stadium. You question what if they all this smokescreen that they've been able to provide through saying, you know, we're going to become a massive club and generate revenue. Now it's all slowly unfolding because you can see that their ambition, they don't have any. You know, even in this market has proven it. Because at the very least, they should be looking at West Ham thinking, we've got to stay in this division if we want to sell the club for the valuation that we believe it's at. And I just see it slipping down, mate. And I wonder, and you're right, I wonder how that impacts on the sale of the club. And I just think I think we're looking at a bit of a Sunderland where if we go down, we could go down another. And obviously until they're gone, and we'll have to rebuild from there. But I can't think of too many worse owners in the league or even in history than them lot, to be honest.
Very well, honestly, completely, mate. And I'll finish with this because it's interesting actually to it just proves how terrible times are with West Ham. But the only way I can compare Golden Sullivan's ownership in terms of just general wide world context is, I think we're living currently as West Ham fans in what's known as the Donald Trump effect, in which so many bad things happen and progressively they get worse and worse and worse. But we just kind of have to roll with it because we're in this situation where we're stuck with them, you know. And
yeah,
you know, in terms of how well that's doing for both West Ham fans and how it's doing for America, it's obviously not doing too well for either. So, I mean, look, it's just we're in a state, we're in an absolute state, and you know, I really hope West Ham fans, I can't believe I'm even saying this, but I really hope they lower their expectations as much as they can for this season, because it will be a stressful season if it continues this way. If the squad changes aren't made, we will be going down, and potentially, you know, that would require. I mean, it's going to be unlikely that we get rid of the owners, but potentially that could require getting rid of the current coaching staff that we have further down the line. I don't know. But like you say, mate, I mean, I was hearing you speak earlier, and there's no impetus for anyone to come to this club at the moment. You know, not anyone that has any self-respect anyway. And this is why we're in the situation that we're in. And unfortunately, David Moyes is, you know, I've got to respect him for trying his best with us, but I just think he's a man with not a lot of integrity left in the game, and he's just trying to get that last bit of football management he can have. And unfortunately, Golden Sullivan have got him on puppet strings, and unfortunately, that it could spell the end of both his managerial career if he doesn't pull this off, and could spell the end of West Ham in the Premier League. But here's hoping for better days.
Oh God, mate, yeah, I'll tell you what. Tonight, I feel really in the pit of despair. I really do. I'll finish this just on a little bit of news come through. Sai Benrahma is set to join Crystal Palace as they win the £20 million race. Now, again, you've got the likes of Palace strengthening with Eze and Benrahma whilst
You're trying to make me cry. Honestly.
No, but honestly, genuinely, I've said it before. You know, it's not all about money. It's about being clever in the market. And unfortunately, mate, we just don't have the infrastructure to pull off anything. So it's a hit and hope. Fingers crossed something comes out of it. You know, maybe we get a point against Arsenal, lifts our spirits a little bit, but we better bunker down to no.
The trouble is, you know, we do that and it's a vicious cycle. It's like, you know, the worst thing to happen is that we actually, you know, beat City or get a couple of points against Arsenal or whoever.
Yeah.
And then people will be like, see, there was nothing to worry about. And then we'll be back to square one again. Just the people don't know. I mean, it's frustrating. The only frustrating thing about talking on this show is the fact that I have so many things to say and so many things to moan about. I mean, and you know, I worry that, you know, a good run of results, unfortunately, will derail a lot of the conversation that's been going on. And not that I want West Ham to fail, but you know, ultimately, it feels like the only option for us at the moment is to is to tank. You know, a lot of that's what a lot of teams in American sports are doing. They just tank so that they can rebuild for next season, and you know, maybe we're heading that direction. But like you say on that Ben Rama news, I mean, getting him for £20 million is a steal, really, isn't it? And
Yeah.
and you know, if we had owners with ambition and money, or you know, honestly, mate, I'll tell you what, they've got the money. I know they've got the money. We all know they've got the money. There's no way. Have you seen David Sullivan Jr.'s house? Like, they've got the money.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, it's ridiculous. It's just the ambition, I guess, that's missing. And like you say, if that is true with Palace and Ben Rama, then Palace, I'm very jealous of at the moment, I have to admit.
Yeah, do you know what's funny? We'll finish it, mate, because I'll probably fall asleep in a minute. But what was I going to say? The fact that they've gone and bought Eze and Ben Rama, both of them, when we were debating which one we'll get, and now they've got both of them to play with. It's nuts, mate.
If that's the life of a West Ham fan, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tough one, mate. I was kind of hoping we'd get a point against Newcastle, so I could kind of lift my spirits up. But nah, I definitely don't feel like that. It's one for the moaning, mate.
Oh, honestly, well, I'm looking forward to help you out on that. That's for sure.
Listen, mate, always a pleasure. I love hearing your thoughts. Really articulate, and you bring across a lot of facts and
trust
things
me,
like that.
it's very tough to be articulate. I don't think I am articulate these days. I think it's quite tough to be fair. But I appreciate that, Corey, and yeah, like you say, hopefully better days ahead. But if not, we'll always have this platform to get our therapy done.
Brilliant, mate. Listen, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks for coming on. You're welcome back anytime.
Brilliant. Cheers. Take care.
Take care, fella. Right, that is it. That's 2 hours, nearly 2 hours worth of the extra time. Dan's going to be back next week. Fingers crossed if he doesn't shaft me again, but he's a very busy man, so completely up to him. But yeah, we will be back. I will do the 3 things we learned from this game. Anything that pops up in terms of transfer news, you'll get the previews next week. I'm going to speak to an Arsenal fan. That's my mate. That's got a lot of insight into the club. We'll also do the preview, tactical breakdowns, analysis, etc. And then, of course, we will return for extra time. I might try and bring on my mate, who's the Arsenal fan, but to be honest, if we get battered 4-0, I don't think it's going to go down too well. So we'll see. But obviously, thanks to everyone that comes onto the show. It's an absolute pleasure doing it. I love speaking to you all. You all have really good opinions. And obviously, if any of you are listening out there and you've seen it and think, oh, fancy a go with that, you're more than welcome. You message us on social media, put you on before. You can come on the moaning extra time, whatever. And I'm happy for you to talk for as long as you want, because ultimately, it's your platform as much as it's mine. And I'll probably get bored of my own voice, so there's no point. But yeah, obviously, enjoy the rest of your weekend as much as you can. Sit in a dark room, think about how dodgy it is. And until next time, take care.